We are thrilled to be back in front of you at another CJU, and like last year, we're going to spend about 30 minutes showcasing some solutions. Our focus this year is going to be about the challenges and opportunities of the day, and having the courage to create in the face of those challenges and opportunities. The people in this room have the talent, have the history, have the experience and the brilliance to do anything when given the right solutions, and that's our job. First, we need to define the opportunities, right? So that'll be my job. I'll take you through some of the macroeconomic stuff that kind of influence what's going on in the world today. Not because it might be stuff you haven't heard before, but hopefully I'll put some focus and refine it down to the things that matter most. I'll also go through some history of how companies have risen and fallen in light of similar challenges and what they did to succeed, to put them in the winner circle. And then Kelly will come in and talk about the solutions that we all need. Okay, let's get into it. Past 12 to 18 months, there's been a lot of macroeconomic noise, right? From rising inflation to increasing interest rates, coupled with relatively slow wage growth, has put a lot of pressure on consumer spending, right? We all know that. We're living with that right now. China has experienced a really abnormally slow growth phase in their history, especially in modern times. And that has had an impact on multinationals, many of you in the audience today, who are relying on China for growth and your plans to pivot around that. And then finally, of course, the ongoing war in the Ukraine and its knock-on inflationary impacts on things like commodities, energy, goods, especially in the Eurozone. The net of all of this is that consumers have been through a lot in the past 3 years, right? From going through a pandemic to lots of economic uncertainty. They've had to navigate all of that. And the result of it, and why it matters for all of us, is they're savvier than ever, right? Which means we need to be savvier than ever and develop strategies and approaches to meet their ever-changing demands. Probably of all of those things just talked about, inflation has had the biggest impact on all of us in this room. As inflation rose, consumers had to allocate more of their hard-earned money to things like energy, things like food, which left less available for discretionary spending. If we focus on the US market for a moment, though, there's some good news, right? July was the lowest inflation level in about 2 years, whether you look at it including food and energy or without. And that's positive news for all of us because that stabilization or that apparent stabilization could mean that we kind of achieve this soft landing that you've heard economists talking about for the past couple of years, avoiding kind of devastating unemployment levels and a deep recession. Consumer confidence has kind of flowed with that, right? And that's what we get impacted by. Kind of the inflation is there, but the consumer confidence and their ability to spend is what we all get influenced by. June and July, 2 months of increasing consumer confidence that led to the highest numbers we've seen since October 21. So some positive news there as well. None of the verticals have been more influenced by all of this in the past year than retail, right? The priorities, again, have shifted. And from the booming growth of 20 and 21 for retail to much more modest growth of 22 and 23. However, this slowing of growth doesn't mean it's not going to get back to double digit in 24, as is the projection. And it also doesn't stop the steady train of progress towards e-commerce taking on a larger and larger percentage of overall spending in nearly every retail category. In fact, I think it's 6 of the top categories will be at or close to 50% of all of the spending coming online. So your Uncle Bob, where you have to explain what you do for a living?
Every single time.
Every time,
Every
right?
holiday.
God, Bob.
13 years of explanations to that.
Get it right, Bob. But you finally get exacerbated and just tell him, look, Bob, I sell stuff online, right? And he says, kind of snarky, yeah, but don't things mostly get sold in stores? Not in 27, Bob. 27's coming for you. Get ready. So that's what's going on in the outside world. Of course, CJ, because of our size and scale, we sort of act as a microcosm for the greater economy. And we've seen similar types of data where discretionary categories have been hit the hardest. There's sort of nothing more discretionary than recreation and leisure. You see that category to the left of the bar. The positive news there is this has also seen improvement from Q1. So the momentum is going in the right direction, creating opportunity in the face of these challenges. But of course, CJ is not just about retail. We cover all verticals, and not all verticals have been affected equally by what's been going on. Let's take travel, for example. It's sort of the polar opposite of retail, right? Retail boomed in 20 and 21, then kind of got back to more modest growth in 22 and 23. Travel, of course, was the opposite. Really tough in 20 and 21. Leisure travel went bananas in 22 and 23. I think Amex is the one that is calling for business travel to be up 24% this year, okay? Lots of positive news and growth in the travel, creating opportunity. Finance. With rising interest rates, savvy consumers have said, hey, I can take advantage of this too by looking for deposit accounts that have higher interest rates, as well as shopping for credit cards that give them greater value, which has created a lot of activity and opportunity in the finance space. So what does this all mean? How does this affect all of us, and what can we do about it? We can't do anything about interest rates and inflation, so that's not why we bring it up. We bring it up to set the context of what we do about it and how we can take a consumer-centric approach to make sure we survive and thrive these times. Okay, so the econ section is over. Marin, you can wake up. And we're on to a little bit of history. It's back to school times, guys. Just roll with it. We good? Just roll with it. Because during times like these, what can happen is that consumer needs, consumer priorities, can become misaligned with the needs and priorities of brands. And that's what we want to talk about and help you prevent. Of course, consumers are making really deliberate purchases right now. They're shopping harder than ever. They're looking for value. They're looking for deals. And again, like I said earlier, they've never been more savvy than they have, given the past 3 years that they've gone through. As sales start to drop, though, businesses look for ways to cut costs, right? They want to reduce prices, protect margin, and postpone investments and things like that. What I will tell you, and what you'll learn over the next couple slides, is that companies that put the needs of the consumer under the microscope and take a scalpel rather than a cleaver, for example, to their marketing budget, are the ones that win in the end, okay? So that's what we'll get to. Let's look at the last major downturn was 2008. And this is a study from McGraw-Hill's advertising laboratory, which basically looked at brands that stayed invested, stayed present, stayed engaged, and those that pulled back. The bottom line, I mean, it's an amazing study. Marin is begging me to read the whole thing. The good news is we read it all, and we summarize it in this way. Fortune favors the bold, guys. Fortune favors the bold. Some people say fortune favors the brave, by the way. I took Latin for 4 years. It's bold. Just trust me. What happened to companies that pulled back is that they are 3x behind those that stayed in the game. And that's not a 2008 phenomenon. This has happened at every downturn going all the way back to the Great Depression. Some brands became legendary because of them rising to the occasion and seizing the opportunity in front of them. And it's not just about money, right? Why did it happen? Why did they succeed and others fail? It's not just about spending. You can't just throw money at the problem. You do have to take actions that lead to better outcomes, and the reasons they lead to better outcomes should be fairly obvious. Those that continue to invest get a greater share of voice, sometimes at lower prices. And the main thing that, kind of summarizes this whole thing is they stayed focused and close to the consumer in those disruptive times, and that led to building trust. It also meant they didn't have to go through the incredibly arduous and expensive task of then having to rebuild audience and rebuild volume when things improved. So what should you do? What's the lessons that we take away from this time that we're in? Above all, stay close to the consumer. Lean into trust, stay top of mind. Consumers are looking for brands that they can trust at this time, and that they can be loyal to, reassured with messages that reinforce what's going on, right? Those that avoid that disconnect. Emphasize value for the money. Come with messages that are empathetic, come with offers that acknowledge the situation that's going on, and you will be able to take advantage of this opportunity. And finally, invest in measurable media, right? Measurement that gives you quick performance results, that you can continually and quickly analyze to make sure your spend is going to the right places. Speaking of measurement, never been more important than measure everything you're doing right now. I talk to all of you all the time. I know that budgets are under constant scrutiny back at home. My encouragement to you is educate yourself, because affiliate does the best job of measurement and holding dollars accountable than any channel out there. So please take advantage of this week or next week or whenever you can to educate yourself on the measurement tools available to you so that you can bring them back to your home office and talk about things like ROI, right? Like incrementality that we can deliver on better than anyone else as an industry. There are trends both inside and outside of advertising creating opportunities. Mayar already touched on a few of those. With consumers shifting towards digital spending, inventory is being added to retail media networks, of course. The pivot towards spending more time with social has created opportunity in social media content, specifically with influencers. And then as linear TV supply has pulled back, digital has kind of filled the void and added to their inventory and meeting consumer need. And then finally, of course, AI, right? AI is being integrated into consumer experiences all over the place. For more information on this, please see Desiree's section tomorrow at 3 p.m. Thank you. Consumers are adapting to live stream shopping, kind of growing out of Asia and spreading to the rest of the world. And with continued proliferation of consumer engagement touchpoints, conversion is the hot topic. It's never been more important. CJ will show you how to use this channel to support all of these opportunities. Okay, we're done with history.
Yes.
We're done with econ.
Yes.
We're done with crisis management.
Yes.
Okay, so what do we do?
Is that next?
What's that?
PE?
PE is next.
Okay.
Outside on the lawn. Understand how consumers act and behave in economic times similar to the ones that we're facing right now. Take a scalpel, not a cleaver. Activate marketing that's effective across the consumer journey. Stay present with them. Be there where they need you, where they want you, where you can build their trust. Invest marketing dollars wisely in transparent performance with measurement as key pillars, adding incrementality and ROI attribution. This channel and CJ are ready. I know all of you are ready. We've got the solutions to deal with all this. I hope we do, because otherwise this was a waste of time.
We'll see what comes next.
Okay, we'll see what comes next from Kelly. We have the solutions, we really do, to deal with all of this. And now that those opportunities and challenges are identified, Kelly's going to take us through solutions.
I will. Great. Hi, everybody. I really want to say, hi, Barbie, but I feel like that's really unprofessional, so I won't. All right, so thank you, Paul, for walking us through all of that. We all know there's some pretty heavy things going on in the economy and in the world right now that are trickling down and impacting what all of us are doing every day. But good news, the rest of this section is very upbeat. We're all talking about opportunities, solutions, how we're working together and growing the industry. So Paul just walked us through these 3 key takeaways for everyone to think about when we're working on your strategies. So there's a million ways for companies to take action on this, right? So why should a CMO choose affiliate? I'm going to dig into each of these. First, we're looking at staying customer-centric, meeting that customer where they are. Consumers are choosing to interact with publishers every single day because they see the value that's being driven by the information that's being provided to them, the incentives, the coupons, whatever it may be. So ensuring that you have a diverse reach of publishers in your program ensures that you're hitting all of these touch points. If you start excluding models, excluding publishers, you're effectively cutting yourself off from your consumer base at a touch point that they may find extremely valuable in their customer journey. And publishers are speaking to these consumers very authentically. Because of that trust that they're cultivating, because of the value that they're providing for their users, they're coming back, and it's staying sticky. They're finding this trust with them, whether they're looking for a coupon and deal, or whether they're trying to figure out what's the best product in a category for me to purchase. This podium, I feel like I'm cut off from you guys over here. Hi. Sorry if I made that awkward. But diversity of engagements. is what allows your brand to interact with these consumers at any given time. An affiliate is the best way to do that. Next, we're going to go into activating across the journey. This is my favorite thing to talk about. If anybody's ever heard me talk about ACJ and customer journey, this is like, I could talk about it for hours. I will not.
Please.
I won't, I know, sorry. No one wants to listen to me talk for hours. But we already talked about the ability for publishers and consumers to help interact across all these different touch points. So not only can we do that engagement and that activation, but we can also see it. So we have customer journey, we have cross-channel customer journey, and we have affiliate customer journey available in our platform to ensure that affiliate is not being viewed in this vacuum, that there's tools available to be able to see how affiliate is interacting with marketing channels across the spectrum. And then going into investing marketing dollars. There's tightening budgets, increased need to account for every dollar. CMOs are now requiring the level of accountability that affiliate has been providing for years. Because we have our CPA and outcome-based compensation models, brands are paying for the quality interactions that publishers are driving. And we're capturing that through our system. We're providing the transparency and providing proof points on why affiliate can be a high ROAS and a high incrementality channel. We're ensuring that we're providing value to the bottom line and a strong return on that investment. So this is really exciting. Like, there's things that we can do in our channel that can't be done in others. So if I'm a CMO, why would they not want to invest in us? We can solve for all of these needs and more. And we're all here to work together to talk about why we can support that. There's actually a session tomorrow Kristen and Kate on my team are doing to talk about publishers supporting these brands and working across the journey. So be sure to join that. I think it's at 9 tomorrow. And I know I just butchered the name and probably the description, but it's fantastic. You should go. Okay, so what's next? What comes next in affiliate? You know, we've been hearing a lot about performance marketing. Performance marketing is a huge buzzword in the industry. And we're really gonna talk today about performance marketing and affiliate marketing pretty interchangeably. As that definition of performance marketing grows, as that tent widens, it only gives all of us more and more opportunity to expand what affiliate is. CJ, we've been talking about this for a while. Paul and I did a presentation at PI Live, I think in 2021-ish. Amalia and Summer talked about it at CJU last year, this idea of affiliate as the channel of channels, as a way to amplify all of your marketing efforts. We're no longer stuck to this idea of what affiliate is or isn't, which is really, really exciting. I said exciting like 50 times already during this presentation.
But you're excited.
But I'm excited, and I just can't hide it. Thank you for laughing at that joke. That was not really good. So, you know, as we've been talking about, it's our 25-year anniversary. We've really obviously been focused on our core affiliate solution for those 25 years. But beyond that, we've always looked for gaps in the marketplace. We've always looked for those opportunities. And we hear about a lot of that from you all. We hear about the needs that our advertisers have. We hear about the needs that our publishers have. What are consumers looking for? And we're adjusting and building solutions to account for those needs. And we're doing that again. We're already starting to expand our business lines to account for new solutions to capture these new gaps and needs in the marketplace. So there's a handful of solutions that we have released in the last year. I feel like I'm right in front of the thing.
You're
right
good.
here.
They're in the other places too.
Oh, all right. First, we're going to talk about CJ Influence. There's a need to have an end-to-end creator marketing solution in the performance marketing space. Next, CJ Leads. Better capture of first-party data, better engagement with consumers where they are. Finally, we're going to talk about CJ Measurement and how we created a unified platform for growth within our network. So next, I'm going to dig into each of these solutions and how we're setting everyone up for success with this and continuing to expand the idea of what affiliate can be. First, we're going to talk about leads. Now, admittedly, lead generation may not be the first strategy that pops into everyone's head when you're thinking about the future of affiliate marketing. But the rise of first-party data, the need for first-party data, has been front and center in a lot of conversations recently. Whether this is because of GDPR and data privacy laws, whether it's because of continued cookie degradation or this rise of retail media. Both our advertisers and our publishers know that owning and engaging with your consumers directly has never been more critical. That's why we've added this solution to our core offering. We know that both advertisers and publishers, all of our clients, are looking to build and optimize their audiences and continue that opportunity to be customer-centric. So I've got a couple examples up here of some leads campaigns that we've run through CJ. The first example is it's Auto Trader is a car buying website. Yes? Yeah. Sorry, I knew that. So what we were able to do there was they had a campaign that they were running through their other marketing channels. And they came to us and said, we want some support amplifying this out. So look at us, we're amplifying marketing efforts here. Not only did we meet their goal of 9%, by 9%, but we also beat an industry benchmark of click to lead generation by 42%. And we also significantly increased the opt-in to their marketing emails, which now gives that brand a long tail opportunity to continue to engage with those consumers. The second example up here is a CPG brand that wanted to build their loyalty program. And we were able to tap into publisher distribution and the publisher trust that they have with the consumers and interact with them via email and native and newsletters. And once again, we hit category benchmarks. You can see these examples here, 25% over click to lead. But we also increased their member base by 2 million people. And these are only two examples of what you can do. You can do SMS capture, driving consumers in store, driving them to dealerships. The list goes on and on and on. So why do this through affiliate? Why do this through CJ? It goes back to those benefits of affiliate. More transparency, third parties validation of the user journey. Publishers have this trust. Users are gonna feel more able and more ready to enter their email address into a field. Uncle Bob doesn't pay attention. His email is gonna get captured and he's gonna get all this junk mail.
He never knows.
He never learns. But by using these publishers, we know that we're gonna have safe, legitimate ways for these consumers to share their data with brands. And it also goes back to this idea of activating across the customer journey. Now you're opening up more touch points to be able to speak to your consumers. And one other really interesting idea that we've been thinking a lot about as we're looking at what solutions we're adding and how we are addressing needs in the marketplace is that both leads and influence, which I'll talk about next, are ways to take and introduce performance marketing and affiliate marketing to brands that have maybe never interacted with us before. Both of these examples up here are not traditional affiliate brands. CPG and car buying websites, they're not always the first thing that you think of when you think about affiliate. But because we can go to them with these marketing channels that they are comfortable with and that they are familiar with, and we can use that familiarity to get them more integrated into affiliate and into performance. We can show them the value that the publishers can drive, make them sticky and bring them in and opening up more opportunity for everybody. Next, we're gonna talk about CJ Influence. Now, we've been doing influencer marketing at CJ for probably close to 10 years now. And we started doing this because we were hearing from our advertisers that they wanted to be able to bring influencers into their affiliate program and mirror the way that they were managing their larger publisher base. They wanted the transparency, they wanted the direct relationship, they wanted to have outcome-based relationships with them. And so we were really successful there. We continued to grow. And now, as influencer marketing as a whole has matured, we're now hearing a critical need from brands that were running influencer outside of affiliate. They were spending a lot of money engaging with consumers and building up those relationships, but they didn't always have the proof points on the back end to really drive home why those engagements were important. They're willing and able to invest pretty heavily. But now CMOs are hungry to prove that the dollars they're investing are good for their bottom line. They're looking for providers that can not only provide strategy and service, but can back it up with results. And that's why CJ Influence is perfectly positioned for this. We can continue to bring in key social media metrics, which are the bedrock of any influencer campaign. Because of our relationship with CIQ, A lot of this information is even available in platform. But now we're layering on top of this sales, actions, conversions, because of our customer journey solution, to be able to stitch together this full story of how these influencers are influencing. It's really been a game changer. You can see the results of the efforts behind me. This negative number is good. That's a cost per engagement benchmark. I was like, why do we put such a big negative number on this slide? But it's a good number. It's a cost per engagement, a drop in cost per engagement. So, we're benchmarking our results against not only the brand goals, but also against categories, so that we continue to come out on top and continue to be poised for growth. And we're continuing to build on this. So Mayur mentioned, I went the wrong way. Here we go. Mayur mentioned our acquisition of Purlieu. And one of the reasons we were so interested in this relationship is that we really felt like they had a similar philosophy to us when they were looking at opportunity in the space. So a lot of influencer platforms will be very execution focused. It's about casting, it's about campaign management. But what Purlieu did is that they saw that there was really an opportunity to build an influencer-first platform. So their network is community-based. They created packs, which you can see up here, to provide ability for these creators to interact with one another, to learn from each other, to talk about brands, to interact with brands. And what that's now built is this creator-first platform that now has a highly engaged and productive base that makes it easier for the brands to partner with them. Now, one other really important piece I want to highlight when we're talking about CJ influence or influence in general, I myself have been guilty of this in the past. We've always really talked about this as the solution for advertisers. It's not. Publishers, you can use CJ influence too. So many of you have these incredibly robust, beautiful marketing strategies. You're doing TV ads, you're doing Super Bowl commercials, you're sponsoring podcasts. We can help support both opportunities for you to build custom creator bases, and maybe this is for your own marketing, maybe it's as a supplement to media campaigns that you're doing on behalf of brands. We can help you build these B2B campaigns. We can help you do casting. There's a lot of customization available that we now have because of the way that we expanded the CJI solution and what we're doing with Purlieu. And because of the knowledge and expertise that we've built over the last 10 years, we know what it takes to be successful in the influencer space. Okay. All right. Finally, CJ measurement. We've talked a lot today about accountability and trust. What other way to prove this than through measurement? Affiliate has historically been a relationship-first channel, and that's still so important to what we do. I mean, look at everyone in this room today. I know like half the reason that a lot of us are here because of the networking that we get to do, catch up with people that you know, build businesses together. But outcomes are just as important, as equally important. Going into the market with a reporting arsenal is absolutely critical. We've all come up against questions about attribution and the value of affiliate, and we want to make sure that we're bringing to market thought leadership and solutions to help support that. We already released a white paper recently about GA4 and showcasing what that's really built to measure, what is not built to measure, why it's not really necessarily meant to measure affiliate, and what other solutions you can use within our platform to help build out that proof point. So we have our cross-channel journey, we have channel incrementality, we have competitive benchmarking. I think it's really important for all of us not to sit back and accept a form of measurement that we don't think is valid and credible for the value that affiliate brings to the table. We can show that there's an alternative and it can be even more accurate. So CJ over the years has now built a pretty impressive set of reporting capabilities. We take into account the needs of everyone within your organization, whether it's an account manager that's running performance reports all the way up to the CMO that's trying to figure out how affiliate fits into their larger marketing strategies. We're ensuring that we're giving both granular and holistic reporting to answer all of those questions. The data and insights that are now available to the average affiliate marketer is mind-blowing. You know, when I first started working at CJ, I couldn't imagine having access to the level of data that we have now. But what that allows us to do, when you combine that with really creative strategies, it makes sure that we have the courage to create and change those hearts and minds about what affiliate and performance marketing can be. CJ's approach to the future is really reliant on our partnerships with each and every one of you. I hope what we talked about today really resonated with you and showcases the trust that we want to cultivate and the performance that we can drive together. I'm gonna hand it back over to Paul. Wrap it up.
Why don't you stay right there?
I will.
You give me strength. Okay, quick summary if you haven't heard me say it already. Those that take action, take bold action in times of uncertainty are the ones that win in the long term. Lean into a consumer-centric approach. Be open to new ways to meet your consumer with things like leads, things like influencer, continuously tuning your affiliate approach as well. Of course, can't forget that. Work with solutions and partners that measure accurately so you have the confidence that you're spending wisely, and no better place to do that than within the channel you've chosen. There are lots of sessions over the next few days that go a lot deeper into these topics. Should I give Des another shout, or are we good?
She's already gotten
All right,
two.
we're good.
Yeah.
Educate yourself, learn together, challenge what you're hearing, bring up questions, and bring this knowledge back to your organization. Thank you so much. We're so happy you're here with us. We can't wait to see you over the next few days. Have an amazing CJU. Thank you. Thank you.